बस देखिए आपके पास अभी थोड़ी स्क्रीन शेयर के मुझे आपके पास नोटिफिकेशन आया है।
Assalamualaikum Ali, can you hear me?
अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी, आई कैन हियर यू वेरी वेल सर।
Good.
गुड। अस्सलाम
Assalamualaikum, Sakib.
Assalamualaikum Fatma, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Absolutely fine. Good to see you.
Same.
So, sir, we said like we will just starting in 2 to 3 minutes because the time is exactly 3 p.m. So we'll have few polls, few questions before that.
Sure.
Okay.
And you're on mute.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're having an amazing conversation on why to revise the business strategy. So that's the first ever conversation. So while people are joining, just allow me that I just push the first question to you, and that is a poll. So if you can just go to whoever is joining, so I request everybody to just help me two things. First, introduce yourself in the comment box so that our respectable panelists can actually understand what you, where are you, and what is your name, your organization. And meanwhile, you can answer the poll I have shared here. Go to slido.com and put the 4266 and 413 as code, and there is a question for you. So please help to answer the question. So if you could just read, and we want to know the percentage of business leaders who believe that coverage impact on consumer needs will remain for at least next 5 years. So there are different options available. So please feel free to answer, and then we will put the right answer later on. That's very important to have your review on that. And I will introduce the panelists once we'll formally start at 3 o'clock. Uh, all of the kind panelists are with us already, and I'm sure they are very excited to bring some conversation why to change the business strategy, because this is a time we're entering into the post-COVID world, and post-COVID world is as different as it was the COVID world when we were entering it before 2020. So we need to ready the way we were not ready for the COVID, but we should be ready for the business world after the COVID. So please feel free to put your comments, uh, uh, your introduction, and fill up this survey. We're gonna answer it once we will start the conversation. Right, so let me see some of the comments which we are receiving as of now. Yeah, so somebody joined in, and I'll just put show the comment. Yeah, so, so LinkedIn user Ahmed has joined, and yeah, from Saudi Arabia. Welcome on board, and whoever is joining, please introduce yourself. Right, okay. All right, okay. So please feel free to share your comments on that. Oh, somebody's putting 85%. Just put it on the Slido as well. Don't reveal it here. Shaheen, please go to Slido and put the code there and select the option. Thank you so much. The rest of the people, whoever is joining, please select it the right answer which you feel. Fatima, this question is not for us, not for you, not for Saqib. And I'm sure Abu Bakr will be joining soon as well. Just 1 minute left from the timing. We'll be starting the event. Oh, so so welcome once again, whoever is joining now. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to talk about why it is important for organizations to revise their business strategy, and we have amazing business leaders with us. I'm going to announce the name and the profile sooner. Meanwhile, so, meanwhile, we have put a question for all of you, whoever is joining. Please feel free to answer it. Percentage of business leaders who believes COVID's impact on consumer needs will last for at least next 5 years. Whatever the answer you feel is right, please choose the answer, and we're gonna announce it later, very soon. So Abu Bakr is another panelist who will be joining us soon, and I think in a couple of minutes' time. But we have other panelists with us already. All right, okay. So we'll take 1 to 2 minutes, and then we can formally get the responses from the people. All right. So a lot of people are joined. We got a few people from Saudi Arabia. The one person from Islamabad, and I think it's taking like some of the people are still joining the call. So I think we can move to just to introduce our respectable panelist. So here we are. I put the poll on hold for a moment, and you can keep putting your questions and answer. I know Fatima is smiling because I know she knows the answer, and likewise Sakib. So please try to hold yourself. So first of all, please join Fatima Haider, who is the Chief Strategy Officer, Brand Communications. She has more than 17 years of experience in UAE, Canada, Unilever, Kraft, Johnson & Johnson. And now she's working for Brainchild Communication. When we talk about Fatima, she's the guru in integrated marketing solution. And personally, I'm very humble, like to have Fatima on board because she is the lady who is like no distraction, total focus on work. Okay, no fun and no distraction. So when I see the other women and other the people, I see the true charismatic women leader in the industry. Fatima, welcome on board.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be a part of this panel.
Thank you so much. And on the other side, a person is a very close to my heart. When we talk about digital transformation, so he's the true face. Nowadays, I'm actually talking a lot about digital marketing and digital transformation because people are confusing it. So when it's about Pakistan in digital transformation, I think a person who's making all the contribution and from the customer perspective, from the industry perspective, he's basically feeding a lot to the ecosystem and end-to-end different kind of customers industries. I think he's the person we can safely say that he has all the knowledge and skills which required for that. And his life is basically for the two things as per my statement. One is innovation, and the second is revenue. I think that is very important for the other entrepreneurs and the team members who is joining us as well. So he is basically a country managing director for SAP. And when we talk about SAP, I think last 3 years and 4 years, he has done a lot for SAP. And I was just trying to find the relate. And simply in SAP, if we just replace the P with Q, so we move toward the Sakib. So that defines the relationship between SAP and Sakib. I think SAP must be very proud to have such a kind of amazing leader on board. Sakib, thank you so much for joining a wonderful conversation with us.
Thank you very much, Ellie, and thank you for the wonderful start. I must say, I'm humbled on that front. But I must say thank you to you because having this presence along with Fatma and Abu Bakr and along with you and giving it back to the society in some ways, something that we are looking forward as a team as well. So thank you very much for holding such a session because your sessions are very content rich, and that's the fun about them, and that's what I like about them. So thank you very much for making such arrangements as well.
Thank you so much. So Abu Bakr is in Lahore. He's actually, that you guys are celebrities. So Abu Bakr is going into a PTV show. So he's very kind. Before that, he's actually joining our session. So he's saying like some technical issue. I told him IT is always like that. Whenever you need IT, we make some fun about it. So he will be joining it within couple of minutes. So before we move to the first question, allow me to share the results which we uh, just threw in front of people. So the
Yep.
first question was basically about yeah. So here it is. So a lot of people are responding. Let's see what is the correct answer. All right. So the right answer is basically it's, it's a 60%. I think it will be displayed on your screen so that yeah. Uh, and that's the answer. 60% of the people put this answer there, and 40% people said that 77% is the right answer. So I think that is something uh, we can see that most of the people here understand that the COVID's impact will last for more than 5 years. Oh, somebody changed answer? No, somebody. Somebody add it. Okay. So 85% is the right answer. Thank you so much for answering it. And let's move to the first question, ladies and gentlemen. So here
Ali,
is
just to interrupt you on this one, I think there is a certain background noise. I don't know if it is only I am hearing or you are hearing also.
I'm hearing it as well a little bit.
So
uh,
just to mention, maybe you need to see if somebody
Sorry,
has on mute.
is
Yeah.
is it for me? Maybe I'm gonna go on mute.
ah,
Yes.
Fatima, you're lucky.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, so Saqib and Fatima, I am just pushing the first question over to you. The question is basically to the panelists is what are the key drivers pushing organizations to review their business strategy? I would request Fatima to go first on that.
Sorry, I was just trying to deal with that background noise.
Okay.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so the question is on the screen as well. It's coming on the screen. So the question
Ah,
is the key drivers pushing organization to review their business strategy.
I mean, from my perspective, there's quite a few drivers, and they're all actually interlinked. So, firstly, changing technologies. I think that's a big driver in terms of reviewing our business strategy and figuring out where the future is, because obviously strategy is forward looking. Second piece that's important or driving, organizations to review their business strategies, changing consumer behaviors. And if we think about COVID, for example, it led to so many changes in terms of consumer behavior and people's behaviors. And for businesses that are oriented towards people, it's imperative that they shift and change the way their consumers and the people that they're servicing are shifting and changing. And linked to that, obviously, is the changing cultural narratives that happen. So technologies, consumer behavior, and then overall the cultural narrative that's shaped by changing technologies. All of those are interlinked in terms of reasons why brands and why businesses need to review their business strategy to make sure that they're always looking forward as opposed to catching up.
Okay, so so great. So from when you talk about changing behavior, do you believe on the poll we just like shared with the people that 85% leaders are saying that it will last for another 5 years? How do you see that perspective?
I mean, it's encouraging to see that 85% of them feel it's 5 years. I would actually think that the impacts of COVID would last forever from now on. Like the world will not be the same. In terms of how people's behaviors have shifted, how people's beliefs have shifted, the rise of certain technologies to counter and to cater to and make things easy in the face of COVID. I don't think that those technologies will simply go away or become obsolete. And I don't think that consumer behaviors will shift in terms of regress back into the way things were before. Everybody talks about the new normal. It's a new normal. Like I think this is the baseline now, and things will continue to change. So I do. It's refreshing to see that 85% of business leaders feel that the changes will last for 5 years. But I think there needs to be like the question should be rephrased in terms of the change will be forever.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Because when we were talking last time in the Work Reimagine Summit, some of the people said like the pendulum will be shifted a little bit back because you'll get freedom to go physical because now it was all about virtual. So it will be adjusted somehow. So
Hmm.
great. So meanwhile, let me just we got another very important member with us. So let me quickly introduce and add it to the conversation. And I was just explaining just before you joined, Abu Bakr, that you're going on a show and is very kind that before that, just giving us your perspective. That's very kind of you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have Sardar Abu Bakr, who is a SCVP, Chief Finance and Digital Officer, Mobilink Microfinance Bank. He has more than 18 years of work experience in Europe, Asia. When we talk about roles, there's so many multidimensional roles. It comes like from CXO, then we talk about corporate strategy, fintech, mergers, acquisition, and he's the go-to person. Nowadays, he's totally focusing on SMEs. A lot of focus on SMEs, and from March, I'm hearing and I'm advocating his narrative as well. Like he's saying, SME is not small and medium. What to say? Like SMEs. No, actually, I'm start forgetting. So I'm saying SME is small and medium emergency. This is what Abu Bakr is saying, and he just revealed the 9 factors agenda for the financial inclusion, and I think it's very impactful for the financial industry. Sardar Abu Bakr, thank you so much for joining. Welcome on board.
Assalamu alaikum, Ali. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Was having some technical problems, so I had to dial in from the phone at the end.
No, no problem. It's absolutely clear, and voice and face, and so everything is fine. So I have put first question, which I think you can see from your screen as well. So I would request Saqib to go to that question, because I got to know the feedback from Fatma already. She's talking about the key drivers. Was one was the changes in consumer behavior, changes in technology, and the culture. So I want to know from Saqib how you want to build on that.
Thank you very much, Ale. I think overall, the way of doing business of organizations have completely changed post-COVID area. So when we talk about the key drivers, I think the goals and the aims have also changed. Many of the times I even before COVID area, if you ask me, many of the time I always thought that we will not be able to close a deal or a business when we are not sitting in front of the customer, having an eye to eye discussion, having the cup of coffee and tea, and having that trustworthy discussion across the table. But today, over the past 2 years, I think many of the deals has been concluded on the Zoom overall, or the Microsoft Teams as well, and our acceptance level of doing that when is also completely changed. When we
Mhm.
talk about the business gains over here, and take the examples of different industries as we speak. Even during the COVID times, some of the industries go down, which we're talking about tourism, aeroplane industry. We talk about their business really haven't impacted and gone down. But if you see on the other side, the healthcare industry, and if you talk about even to that extent, the logistics industry, the shipping and the port industry, they all have gone up with, and see in Pakistan, the overall textile industry, even their goals and aim has completely shifted. And what we have seen on ground, the way of the thinking of the key decision maker have completely changed. I always say the digital transformation is all about making the right decision at the right time. And any decision maker can only make this one when he has the right set of data on his table. Every decision that they make is right because it is depending on the input that has been provided to them at that very point of time. The key driver in the organization about their business strategy is to have the right set of tools that provide them the right set of data to make the right decisions. I think the more we will focus about this one, the more we'll push the organizations, and already I see that organizations are making this as their prime responsibility. I always thought that digital transformation was always on the lower end of the agenda of a
Mhm.
state, put it in this way.
Mhm.
I always thought them that they were coming somewhere down the road and their priorities were always different. And whenever some sacrifice has to be made, it was always the digital or IT side of the world that has to give that sacrifice for the bigger growth of the business in their own eyes. But now it has completely changed. I see clearly digital transformation as the top agenda of any of the organization, and I'm talking about some of the key organization which has all the key people graduated from
Mhm.
outside or coming from the LUMs and IBS of the world today, or even some of the people which are very forefront as only the business experience. They are bringing digital transformation as the front end agenda. So I clearly see that the thought leadership has changed, the people had changed, and the most importantly, the change management aspect of this thing. Sometimes the leaders want to impact and have this digital transformation, but the teams underneath, they are not ready for such a change because they feel they can be exposed to something new and they are not ready for that one. The fear of job at times, and sometimes the fear of just unknown, that they will take away everything that they have in the heads of them for the experience that they talk about. So I think all these factors connected together are the key drivers that organizations are changing. They are pursuing their digital transformation agenda, and they are getting ready for the post-COVID time that we talk about. And I totally agree with Fatma. It's not a 5 years way of working. I think our life are going to be completely, and our business transactions and business way of working will be completely changed over the period of next whatever time frame that we have. I think we have accepted some of the norms which were not present over there, and we are ready to accept some of the digital and IT transactions that we were not expected earlier as well.
That's great. So it means you're talking about like organizations are changed, people are changed. So that's another driver you're adding. I think I'll put my perspective later, but I would like to know. the input from Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr, how do you feel like, other than the technology, other than consumer behavior, anything else you feel like is the strongest trigger which push organization to think about changing the strategy?
Absolutely, Ali. I think बहुत अच्छी बात है हो गई है consumer technology के बारे में fully agreed. But I think what I found, Ali, is, and in your programs, it's always good to be candid, is that in addition to the customers and technology, it's our shareholders and the analysts that are really, really important in driving a business strategy. Or what I often say is that the CEOs need to either be able to convince the shareholders and analysts or be convinced by them. होता ये है कि the meaning of digital transformation by your shareholder and analyst can be viewed very differently. So let's take an example of companies that are based here in various sectors, but are subsidiaries of companies, of global companies. Now, those global companies may view Pakistan in a certain light. It could be a positive light, it could be a negative light, and then hence their investment decisions in
Mhm.
Pakistan are directly a consequence of what they believe the future of the market to hold.
Mhm. I think I can feel some signal loss maybe because he's Abu Bakr is indoor. Yeah. All right. So meanwhile, Abu Bakr will join in again. Let me put a very interesting perspective. See,
अब
I
उसमें
think
फिर CEO और Ali,
sorry. Abu Bakr, your voice is breaking.
sorry, मैंने Ali, what I've done is I put the camera off for a second. I hope you can still hear me.
Yep, definitely we can hear you now.
So I think the point what I was making is that it's really, really important that the shareholder and the analyst के साथ जो conversation है ना business strategy की, that is
Mm-hmm.
transparent, it's clear, it's timely. There are many companies in the tech space which are not making money today.
Mm-hmm.
You've had the likes of Netflix that have been in losses. You've had the likes of Tesla that for the first few years have been selling a dream, but then the analysts and the shareholders have bought the dream, and hence the
Mm-hmm.
business strategy is based on that. And then you have certain industries which have been subject to more of a slowdown, more of traditional investment appetite. वहाँ का
Mm-hmm.
shareholder, वहाँ का analyst views the market in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may say you operate in Pakistan, look at the weighted average cost of capital, look at the depreciation of currency, management.
Oh yeah. So I think Sakab, digital transformation. We really need digital transformation.
I think there is multitasking here. He's getting phone call maybe on the mobile here.
Yeah. No. Okay. So yeah. So we
Sorry,
might.
Mary Ali, I think baat khatam ho gayi thi. I'm,
But yeah.
with the phone, every time I'm getting a call, this
uh,
is causing disruption. So I'm going to try and put in silent. It's very embarrassing. Apologies for this.
No worries. I think Sakib predicted it right. He's like he's getting the call, and I think that's the challenge with the phone. You got it. So Sakib and Fatma, I'm just giving another perspective. I need a quick view, and then I'll proceed to the next question. I got to know like when Interloop, one of the biggest company in garments, so they go for IPO, and their valuation was around $250 million. But on the other side, in the first 6 months the startups generated seed money as more than $250 million in Pakistan. So that triggers that traditional corporates need to think about disruption. Do you think like the disruption is another thing that traditional corporate organizations need to change their style? They need to look forward to startups and other things to drive the value. Quickly, 1 minute response from Sakib and then Fatima, and then I'll go to Abu Bakr.
Look, disruption is not anymore a negative word. Let's be practical about this one.
Mhm.
Disruption is more about change. It's about breaking the pattern that you are already thinking and executing for over the period of time and start thinking differently over here. The
Mhm.
word disruption is becoming more and more positive with time. Rather, I will put it a very small example. I started my career with one of the German giants, and they were working in a very traditional way of having rooms and the doors closed, and there were secretaries, and you need to get an admission to enter, and there were barriers, both socially as well as professionally, to reach to a person to tell him about his or her ideas over there. And then
Mhm.
I came around 15 years down the road, another multinational when I worked, when there was only open offices and only the phone booths or the meeting rooms to attend a meeting. There were no rooms for anybody, and every CEO has to sit on the same table that we were sitting in. These are called disruptions. These are called ideas where we get in and we accept the fact that the way we were working, that was also right earlier and that gave us results. But the way of working with this new Gen Zs or new millennials and the way these guys think over, I think we have to change ourselves to adapt to them. In many of the mentorship sessions, when I go and people say that please mentor the youth, I say actually we mentored by them, because the way they come up and the ideas that they bring in, that's a disruption in our whole thought process as well. I always say I'm not competing today to my age groups. I'm not mentioning the age myself, but I'm competing to somewhere like 15 years younger people over here, because they are running at a faster pace and they are catching with our experience, and that differentiates them, and that disrupts the whole ecosystem that we are talking about.
Mhm.
So I
Okay.
love the word disruption, and I think this is important for any organization as well.
Great. Fatima, quick note from your side, please.
Yeah, no, Saqib, I definitely agree with you. We are the ones who probably need to be mentored at this point, not the other way around. But I mean, I do think that there is some value to be had on both ends. I think I mean, over the course of our multiple years of experience, we do have some value to add. We're not entirely irrelevant yet. But to the point that you were making, Adi, yes, I do think that businesses need to think about disruption and need to think differently. The way that they used to think that got them to the point that they're at, it's not going to continue to work forever. In fact, there's this really popular quote by Wendy Clark from Coca-Cola, where what got us here won't get us there. And that's so important that it is, even when we think about business strategy and where we're at right now, it's definitely, I mean, and you look at Pakistan and how the startup scene is booming and everybody's securing investments, everybody wants a share of that, wants to be part of that space in some way, shape, or form. Our own organization is making in steps in that direction, and it's because we see the value in that. We see that this is where the world is going, and you either catch up or you get left behind, and nobody wants to be left behind. So I definitely agree with what you're saying about that.
All right. So, Abu Bakr, quick thought from your side on disruption for organizations.
Again, I think disruption for organizations must be driven by from tone at the top, right? But at the same time, it's an interesting mix. So tone at the top तो हमेशा से कहते हैं, but then tone at the top should be facilitative of disruptive ideas coming from the bottom. And I think that's really
Mhm.
important because in organizations where you have large egos, where you have people who are unwilling to listen to a good idea because of the title of the person from whom the idea is coming, will always be disrupted. They will not be disruptors. So what I found is that creating that environment, that tone at the top, where you are able to facilitate ideas generation, and then also facilitate people to be thick skinned in the sense that yes, you've given an idea. It doesn't mean that
Mhm.
10 out of 10 ideas will be accepted, but at the
Mhm.
same time, that should not impede or stop you from furthering innovation. I think that kind of an environment for any organization is critical for future success.
Okay. So yeah, I understand. So that's a mix, as you said, like so that's the first point concluded where we talk about the key drivers which trigger organizations to revise their business strategy. Now I'm putting a questions to all of the audience. So the question is again on your mobile screen. You go to slido.com, put the code, and the question is like, do you believe this statement that is mandatory to revise company strategy to meet the post-COVID consumer needs? So that think about your organization, think about the other ecosystem, and please select your response. I think somebody has already put it as yes. So I feel like because people love stories, I also love stories. So let me share while you answer this question from your mobile, let me share an interesting story with you. Uh, yep. Sorry, just yep. So that story is about football. So if you so it's coming on your screen sooner, that we were talking about Brazil. So Brazil is a team who actually won 1958 World Cup. So they won that tournament, and then 1962 they were the winners of the tournament again. Now then we reach to the third point, and that is 1966. Yeah, so 1966. What happened to 1966? The Brazilian team, who actually won both of the tournaments, the last two tournaments, and the world knows them very well, that they are the leaders in the World Cup. But 1966, suddenly something happened. I think you can guess it, that they lost the World Cup. But how? But how? Put your thoughts on the comment box as well. And what happened actually? In fact, Brazil eliminated from the first round even. Now imagine the disaster. The same team which actually won World Cup, both of the World Cup, but they actually lost the last one. So now I'm gonna share with you what happened actually. So there will be something about the individual player. Pele, everybody has heard about Pele. So it was because of the worst performance by Pele, who was frustrated, who was a lot under pressure, and everybody was believing that he is the only savior. Every person from the Brazil believe that if we're winning it's because of Pele, if we're losing it's because of Pele. So because of that, he was under pressure, and they lost from the first chapter, I'd say. So then he threatened to leave the football, and everybody in Brazil was crying that if Pele leave the football, what will happen? We can never win again. That is the time, 1966, ladies and gentlemen. The whole football team sat down together, and then they came up with a new strategy. And they said the new organizations, the new team will have no dependency on Pele. So they decided a new strategy to actually increase the team cohesiveness. Each player need to be dependent. Each player need to be considered that he will be the winning player. And this strategy was not actually created only because every supporter believed on Pele, but they told all the supporters that it's not Pele only, it's about everybody now. So that strategy was very well cascaded. And you know what happened? The result was overwhelming. 1970, the same team which was lost badly in 1966, that team actually won the World Cup again in 1970. And that time, even now, that team is categorized as the most amazing team ever. And Pele was actually frustrated in the last World Cup. He was named as the player of the tournament. That is the benefit of revising the business strategy. So this conclude and bring our learning as Fatma is talking, uh, Sakab and Abu Bakr, that it's a new time. The consumer behaviors are change. It's a different times. So different times definitely require a different strategy. So different times, revised strategy. I think that is something which we believe that organizations should do it now. So building on that story, let me bring now the result from what we just uh, talked. So everybody, I hope you're putting the results there, and it is coming on your screen. So for me, I can see it, and everybody agreed that yes, it required a new strategy. And that's the first contribution which all of the panelists are making, that all the audience is having the belief that post covid world required a new strategy on that. So great contribution. Now, with that, I am moving to basically the second part of the session. So I'll ask the questions to Abu Bakr first now. All right. Okay. Let me yep, go back. So I'm putting the second question, which is basically share some example, if that is possible, where you can quote some of the company which actually when they change the strategy. So what kind of impact they experienced, and the company which didn't change the strategy, what kind of impact actually they experience. So you can actually start with any one example, and then we can have example from every other
Sure.
leader who is other panelist.
ठीक. Surely, absolutely. I think एक तो there are many famous examples जो कोट होती हैं बार बार, but again there is no harm because they show us important lessons. अक्सर Kodak की बात की जाती है.
Yes.
The issue is that with Kodak, they actually had the one of the first rights to the digital camera. तो
Yes.
ऐसा नहीं था कि उनके पास टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं थी. They had one of the first rights to the digital camera. The problem is कि technology has never been a problem. It is
Hmm.
कि customer use cases पे focus है या नहीं है. A lot of companies जो कि tools पे पहले focus करती हैं and business use cases पे कम focus करती हैं, I think those companies have proven that they don't last the distance. And that's why I actually, Saqib is here, I actually appreciate companies like SAP and others जो कि अपने tools को tailor करती हैं according to the business and customer use cases. And I
Hmm.
think that's really, really critical. Technology has never been an impediment. तो वो कोडा की एग्जांपल ले, नंबर वन. नंबर टू, देन अली आई विल से वेरी क्विकली कि वो कंपनीज जिनको ये क्लियर नहीं है कि सक्सेस का मेट्रिक क्या है, उनकी
Hmm.
स्ट्रेटजी इज बाउंड टू फेल. बिकॉज देखें, सम कंपनीज वर्क एंड आर सक्सेसफुल ऑन सिंगल डिजिट मार्जिन. अदर कंपनीज को 50% मार्जिन चाहिए. Other companies want to be number one in number of customers. So unless you have a very good idea with your consumers, with your analysts, with your shareholders, the success criteria क्या है, then you're
Hmm.
bound to fail. And I think then the success stories may the opposite is true. The companies that have a very clear, crisp idea of what the metrics of success are, which is aligned with their shareholders, with their analysts, aligned with the needs of the customers, आई थिंक दे बिकम सक्सेसफुल. एंड कोविड ने इसको सिर्फ एक्सेलरेट कर दिया यार. जो अली थोड़े से हम सारे ढीठ थे ना डिजिटाइजेशन की तरफ, it forced us into it. And I think the companies that were front runners, जिन्होंने कोविड से पहले डिजिटाइजेशन की तैयारी कर ली थी ना अली, they
Hmm.
took an advantage. The companies that had to set up digital back-end systems, digital customer-facing platforms during they've had a bit of catching up to do. So I'll sum up there.
Great. So Kodak, we got a Kodak example, and of course we have so many other examples. So Fatma, would you like to go second? A quick
Sure.
example who actually was successful by changing the strategy.
I'd like to give a local example actually, airlift. I don't know a lot about airlift, but from what I know, उन्होंने शुरुआत की थी as a ride-hailing service, getting people from one place to another. And with COVID, obviously, with offices being shut down and things, they pivoted and got into the delivery business and grocery deliveries. And I believe just recently there was news where they were able to raise a significant amount of money for their startups. So I mean I think that goes to show कि उन्होंने एक तो they were agile and they were able to shift. The in terms of like Bakr भी कह रहे थे कि we need to be clear about what success metrics are. I think we need
Yeah.
to take a long hard look at what their business model was, what was success for them. Whereas at
Mhm.
one point it was getting people from point A to point B, all they had to do was shift and say now we need to get products from point A to
Yep.
so I think they had that clear vision and they were able to success that.
Great. Sakib, any, so it's a good example. Airlift, we got a, I think they raised $85 million. That's the big amount they raised for. I think this was the biggest one. Sakib, any example from good side or bad side, please feel free to share with us.
Yeah, I think first I will comment on the story that you said about the Brazil. I think in the recent time we have an amazing success story where the Leicester City, when in the Premier League, They came from the second string, came on and won that one over there. We may not like, but in 1983, India gave its lesson to the mighty West Indies by winning the World Cup on the last match there as well. We have a lot of stories like this where we see that by changing and putting the spirit in the team, the end results were able to be achieved there. Kodak example or the Nokia handset example that we used to give that with 85% and 90% of the market share. The thing absolutely completely changed since 2007 when the Apple came in with their first screen touch screen phone that we talk today. Just giving back to the example, we need to divide these examples into two parts. One part of the example is which is after 2007 when the touch screen and the entrepreneurship started becoming the household name here as well. So once that touch screen phone with the kind of overall bandwidth connectivity was available for the people, then the agility for the organization to make and change and the impact is very fast. Many of the organizations, if you see the Ubers and the creams of the world, they came in after that one. All the household apps in terms of Food Panda and everything, they came in after once these mobile headset and the bandwidth was available to the end users. Then all these businesses started coming in. So their ability to change and to adapt is much more as compared to the businesses when these abilities and when these tools were not available. So if we go back into that era where we talked about the Kodak example or the Nokia handset example, where the companies didn't change their strategies. Let's be very fair. All the companies keep on changing their strategies all the time, depending on their market needs and depending on the data that is available for them and depending on the end goal that we are coming in. Majority of the companies today are very much focused on the carbon footprint. Many of the time are clearly saying that yes, we need the growth that is there as well, but we want sustainability in business as well. And this is also one of the goals that we need to manage. So I think we need to see that how the companies are changing their goals for the betterment of humanity. One part of the company is always to attain the best results or the best business numbers or best growth numbers that they are looking at. But I think all these big companies today are looking at what they can give back to the society, how they can make the life of the people better, how they can have these impacts in the society. And that's why I see majority of the companies going to the CSR work, majority of the companies multinational like us talking about how they are making and help their customer make carbon footprint low in the work overall in the world, and also to have an impact on the climate change that we are talking about. So many of these examples are there, but we need to just differentiate that once this connectivity and mobile phones were available, the agility is there to change our goalpost on a very fast pace, and our strategy is also moving on a very fast pace as well.
All right, great. So we just like we get great examples like Kodak, Nokia. We got Airlift as well as different perspective from Sakib. I think that's the first time I'm like listening this very important perspective that company is basically transforming more than the profits. They're moving more towards the customer carbon footprint. That's a big shift actually coming, and that's the reason another trigger which asking the rest of the companies to reshape, to basically re-strategize themselves. The focus should be changed. As Abu Bakr also said that the goals are changed, the aims are changed. So good point. The last point, I'm gonna raise it to you. The last question is basically, and I need just 1 minute quick answer. The question is, what is the one opportunity lost you feel that companies will experience if they will not revise their strategy? What is the one loss? Fatima, can you go first now? So you're
Uh,
smiling. I thought you already have something in your mind.
yeah, I do. They become obsolete. Where's Kodak right now? So I think the opportunity lost is not something that you can ignore. You know, you get left behind, like I said. I mean, the opportunity, like you risk being obsolete and not in existence anymore. So I would say that's the biggest piece. So I mean, one is, I mean, the flip side of that, if you look at it, is the possibility to thrive and to grow and to contribute and continue to be relevant and part of the conversation. That's the opportunity that you lose out if you're not revising your business strategy.
That's quite big. That's quite big. Like there's a
It's
risk
dramatic.
to it. Yeah. So yeah. So Sakib, from your side.
Yeah, I totally agree with Fatma. The companies will simply wipe off if they are not going to change your strategy right away. And it's not that they will not have time. Just imagine. I give this example in one of the talk shows earlier as well. When I was growing up, I used to have that VCR. and we used to rent a shop of that VCR and see the movies over there. And usually in my corner market, there were five shops to rent that VCR shop. So we used to go there, and so there were five business opportunities of rental over there. The CD came in and they hit it, and those five shops become two. Then the DVD came in, and that two shops became one. And
Wow.
then the Netflix came in, and all this Amazon came in, and there is no shop that exists anymore because we are seeing everything online. We don't know as businesses what will hit us. It's not the competition, these five shops competing with each other. It's the technology and other complete market trend that will wipe them off if they are not ready for the business strategy that they are coming in. I give you
Mm.
one final example. I have three kids over here. But the eldest one is in the university, and he's doing a tiership and earning today and trying to get something out to survive himself. I have a 15-year-old daughter who's right now working online from home, doing his A levels in parallel and doing the Shopify of one of the business opportunities and giving their deals as well. And I have a 13-year-old son who's right now doing a gaming application and selling the gaming overall visuals to the people online and earning money out of that one and trying to buy the new software as well. This is an example of a one family. I can tell you 100 example of this youth out over there who have completely re-strategized the way they think and their businesses. Businesses not only of companies anymore, it's individual who are bringing as entrepreneurs the ideas, and the market is not anymore boundaries for them. There is no boundaries of a Facebook. There is no boundaries of selling on the YouTubes out over there. It's boundaryless. And that's how we have to revise our business strategies as an individual and companies to achieve what we are looking at.
I mean, that's great. So, by that way, on a lighter note, Sakab, you revealed your age as well because you said like, oh my, so Abu Bakr, a very important point. I think your idea would also be amazing. Please share the last point with us, the one opportunity loss.
नहीं, sure. I think customer connect, and customer connect की वजह से then brand value, because as Saqib and also said earlier on, companies now, even the big tech giants,
Mm,
you talk about
mm,
all of these tech companies of Uber and Apple and Facebook, they need to be really mindful of when their name is said, what is the first thought that comes in the customer's mind. I think every company needs to think that.
mm,
आजकल data privacy, information security, sustainability, these have not been driven proactively by companies. These have been driven because of necessity, the truth be told.
mm,
Actually, I would really say that even the companies that rely on agile platforms and agile ways of work, they must be aware of what is happening in the external ecosystem, because otherwise, the customer connect, if that is lost, then it's a slow death, right? They may survive, but then it's the downfall is already started. So, customer connect, and what is the first thought that the customer has when they think about your company name and brand?
Oh wow, that's really really a nice add-in. So because everybody, I'll give you another example. The recently, it's not a good example. Some people in the restaurant, they actually humiliated some manager, and because of this digital presence, that restaurant has to shut down. So that is the impact. Like they didn't understand that how their own customers will understand that. So I think that goes without saying from that perspective. So I think overall we are able to build the case that if we're not able to revise our business strategy, the the strongest the loss could be like will be obsolete, will not be able to stay relevant, and then will not be able to connect with the customer because customer is driving this change. And if we're not understanding that, that will not something good for organization. So with that, I would put the last questions to the audience now, like what do you think is the biggest learning? Like if we have quick 40 minutes conversation, 45 minutes conversation, anything which you feel like it can help you to convince further to revise the business strategy, you can feel free. And any question or any thought, please put it here. And since Abu Bakr need to leave, Abu Bakr, we are just wrapping it up in 2 to 3 minutes. If you can give just 3 more minutes, if there are any questions specific to you, and then we will be actually closing the session in 4 minutes of time. Okay. Right. So so we got one question. Um, we would like to take this question. Companies incur a lot of losses, difficult. So finances. So finances. I think, Abu Bakr, if you can quickly answer this one, and then Saqib, because I will not put this question to Fatima now. It's more about finance. Abu Bakr, would you like to answer this question?
अली मुझे क्वेश्चन सुनने में थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम हो रही थी. Can you just tell me what the question is?
Yep. So the question is, companies incurred a lot of losses in COVID. It's difficult to put finance in
जी जी.
R&D now. Any ideas for good, cost-effective, innovative
Yeah.
approach for to re-strategize?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल देखें ये लंबा आंसर है, but given the interest of time, any company needs to know what its core service is. जो कोर सर्विस है आपकी अपनी, यू कीप दैट. आई नो एवरीवन कैन डिसएग्री, बट यू कीप दैट इन हाउस, यू कीप कंट्रोल ओवर इट. द रेस्ट you outsource. You go to long term contracts, you outsource. Too many companies own too much of legacy infrastructure that is not core to their operation. So you want to be lean. The most valuable assets that generate IP, that generate your core customer connect, you have economic control over it. The rest you leave to the experts. That should give efficiency. Number one. Number two, digitization and automation is not just for customer facing processes. Actually, if an organization is going to talk about digitization, they need to start internally. If that happens, the payback of that should also be quite reasonable. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Saqib, you would like to add something that?
No, I think if we see even the example of Pakistan today, and many of the countries have done that one as well. When the COVID came in, government came back with the loan options for different industries on a very less rates, just to help the community overall and just to help the industry overall as well. So first of all, I think in this difficult times, all the governments all across the world has come up and helped businesses wherever they can. But just coming back, the point is that regardless of that, that finances are not there, but technology is a game changer over here.
Mhm.
You can sit in your one room, sitting in your homes, and you can run the complete business all across as well. So the more you are technology savvy, the more you are adapting to the new solutions, and the more you and let me tell you, all our customers and our end customers, end users, they are readily accepting this digital transformation change. We need to understand this one, which was the COVID has helped us. It has been a difficult time, but it has helped us because our end customer and end user are ready now to use these digital technologies. Even think about, as I gave the example at the start, the people buy today. हम अपनी ऑनलाइन शॉपिंग कंप्लीटली एंड टू एंड ऑल्दो के कोविड कम हो रहा है बट वी आर स्टिल गेटिंग द ग्रोसरीज डिलीवर्ड एट होम over there. The whole ways of digital transformation is impacting, and right now, even if the finances are less, the technology is there to help and help the businesses grow as well. So we should use the technology to its maximum ability. There are many free of charge things available. We just need to connect them together and see the end result.
Great. Fatma, you want to add last point before we conclude?
I mean, yeah, I think I agree with what both Abu Bakr and Saqib have mentioned. In terms of answering that question in particular, I do think that, yeah, obviously you should be investing behind research and development, but if your finances are limited, there's so much information that's available to us now in terms of networks, online. And I don't think re-strategizing needs to depend entirely on investing behind research and development. I mean, I think one of the reasons why how we were talking about the startup culture and youth and how entrepreneurship has changed is because, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not investing a lot behind research and development either. They're trying, they're failing, they're revising, they're trying, they're failing, they're revising again and again to make a success out of the business. So I do think that there are cost-effective ways. Information is available and everywhere to at least start re-strategizing.
All right. Okay. So thank you so much. I think with that, we will be able to share the recording, and I'll be preparing some summary together with my team. So the takeaways for the people. So I would like to thank Saqib for great input, Fatima, wonderful thoughts, and Abu Bakr, especially for making it happen. I know you're traveling and you're putting all the efforts. I think that is something which I always believe. And let me tell you that I feel honored that you guys are actually have a stature more than a company. You're working for a country. You're working for an ecosystem. So very very happy to have you on board. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're just closing down this session and quickly announcing the next session, because this is a strategy implementation project. For this, we are having series of 4 sessions. So the next session will be Thursday, the same time, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And basically, it is showing. So what it will come, it will show. It will all about understanding the human mindset. That is the conversation we will have next week. And for till that time, I would say thank you so much, all of you guys, and hope you have got value out of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ale. Thank you,